Salamat ho, Madam Chairman, Senator Hontiveros, at mga kaibigan. At sa military, we know that how much sacrifice and so much help at wala masyadong nagiging complaint. Everybody has good words only about military. But tungkol sa yon gustong mangyari dyan sa North Philippines, maaring hindi natin alam, but because of our research, mukhang sa US alam na nila anong gusto nilang gawin. So we would like to show some document, example in the media in the US, kung anong balak nilang gawin, no? Baka pwedeng i-project diyan, no? Na CNAS, the CNAS,
Flying from the Philippines.
CNAS, which is the US, one of the US strategic organizations, has a simulated battle in which they have the flights coming out of North Luzon. So baka hindi natin alam, pero that is already part of the US studies, no?
We're trying
So
to Taiwan.
if you point that out, I don't know if they asked. I wonder if they asked us that about using North Luzon as the base from which they will fly their planes. Apart from that, siguro maaari natin masabing we welcome all kinds of assistance for calamities and so on. But in the last several calamities, we could consider that China has been giving more than 10 times more than the US. Of course, we have a dispute with China. And actually, in the case of Marawi, the US blocked the shipments of arms and munitions to the Philippines when the Marawi, I'm sure many of you were involved. And then it was China and Russia that gave the means which allowed us to settle the Marawi siege within 8 months. No? So yan lang ho, to bring up na. Thank
Mr.
you.
C. Yes, we're aware of material like this deriving from the United States and other allies. And the question has arisen time and again, if an armed conflict breaks out between the U.S. and another country, can the Edca sites in northern Luzon or elsewhere in the Philippines be used as staging areas where the U.S. can launch attacks or counterattacks? Because it's very clear under Article 1, as quoted by Senator Pimentel, that there is a catch-all phrase that will allow all sorts of activities related to those above, provided there's some kind of an agreement. Kasagsagan ng digmaan, wala na sigurong panahon na idadaan pa yan sa Kongreso, magkakaroon pa ng konsultasyon. Palagay ko, biglaan, madadali tayo niyan. There's also explicit provision for refueling and reloading of aircraft with missile and munitions. Is that correct? So refueling lang yan, no other provisions, ano? Tama po ba ang pagkaintindi namin? There's an express allowance in the Edca for the refueling of aircraft. Are we to assume that they can also gather supplies, more munitions, more missiles even at the same time?
Refueling depots, ma'am, already completed.
Oo, pero kung magkarga sila ng mortar, halimbawa, kasama po ba yun sa pagkain, sa gamit, at iba pa? Yes, Yusek Galvez, please.
Ma'am, these are the principles that we adhere in ensuring that the national interests are protected in advance for the EDCA. Number one is strict compliance with the Philippine Constitution, laws, and jurisprudence.
And Yusek Galvez, it's a simple question. Beyond refueling, what else can be loaded on the aircraft leaving the agreed upon locations under EDCA po?
Ang ano po natin, ma'am,
Yung simple lang kasi 'di ba may explicit provision na pwede silang mag-refuel. Habang nag-gas up sila, maglalagay rin ng tubig, ng pagkain, ng kung ano-ano. Pwede po ba nung mortar maglagay din? Missiles?
ang ano po natin, ma'am,
munitions?
ang ano po natin na the MDT and the mutual agreement that we had with the US is that we have a mutual commitment. If we have mutual commitment, for example, if the US committed that they will help us during attack. At the same time, if US is also in attack, we are more than willing to help them in terms of providing some support, for example, logistic bases, and also allowing them to use the EDCA sites, provided that nuclear weapons are prohibited. That's the provisions that we had.
Yes,
And,
but that's a very broad allowance right
and
there.
also, there is a requirement for Philippine consent for all the activities.
Thank you. Yes, the concern is that if the concern is even if these sites aren't used to launch attacks, isn't it so that all these sites, as asserted by General Centino, are in fact military camps? Hence, are they also legitimate military targets? If you were the commander-in-chief of a country at war with the United States, wouldn't you attempt to cut off supplies and equipment of their army located here in the Philippines, in northern Luzon, in Edca sites?
Even without the invoking the MDT, ma'am, I'm sorry, ma'am, but the camps are always targets.
The MDT only comes into play
Yes,
as,
ma'am. So-
as explained by Senator Pimentel when there's
Yeah.
an invasionary force,
Yeah.
an external attack.
A military camp will always be a target for the adversary.
Whoever knows.
Iba kasi, di ba, nagpe-preposition ng Amerika kasi gusto nila umatake. Eh, tayo naman ang madadali. Ganun lang kasimple po yun eh.
I believe
So it's a legitimate, so these EDCA sites here in the Philippines will all be legitimate military targets, di po ba?
Kung titingnan nyo, ma'am, yung ng MDT, basically, ang ng MDT is for the peaceful. Nakalagay dun sa sa MDT natin, I forgot, Ang pinaka talaga niyan is not, hindi tayo magiging attacker, eh. Tayo mismo yung parang tinatawag nating, we are preventing,
Sik po?
Sir, actually, sir, Madam, I have read the content of the MDT. Ang nandun pa rin talaga, sir. But definitely, ang natin doon, we are having that MDT purposely for defense. For defense, not for preparing for war. For defense.
Yes, Senator
yung first
Pimentel.
whereas clause nga ng MDT for peace.
For peace ang ma'am, nakita ko doon. Kasi
Isn't it written for peace?
actually yung niyan, yung isang niyan, yung first article niyan, is really
Hindi na
to
siya
maintain peace.
mutual defense and world peace eh, di ba? Parang it's preparation for attack eh. Parang naiba yata. Hindi na MDT yun eh.
Actually, ma'am, kung titingnan natin yung spirit ng MDT is really to deter war. Talagang natin, and also to prevent other forces from attacking us. Meaning, with the modernization of our MDT, meaning if we are modernized with the help of our allies, and also we have a collective defense, our primary purpose is
Saying
really...
we're modernizing the MDT, it hasn't been touched since 1951.
Actually, madam, that's the commitment right now. Meaning...
Yes, but you haven't seen it yet.
Yes, madam. We are trying to really make that commitment. That considering that the possibility of what is happening right now, we want to really be prepared for that. That's
We proceed to Senator De La Rosa, please, and thereafter to Dr. Sasot.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Alam nyo, magpapalabasan na lang tayo dito ng sama ng loob. Dahil nga, pag dumating yung pambubuli ng China, tayo galit na galit sa China, wala tayong ibang iniisip kung kanino tayo hingi ng tulong. And the closest ally that we can think of is Amerika. Di ba? Dapat silang tutulong sa atin. Ngayon, ito namang Amerika, marami mga previous incidents na pinapahirapan rin tayo, ginigipitin tayo. Like for example, yung nasa kanina ng ating isang resource speaker during Marawi Siege, yung procurement namin sa PNP ng rifles, hinarang ng Amerika. Hindi sila tumulong. Nagamit sana namin yun sa Marawi Siege. Ngayon, kaya mag-ingat tayo paano tayo magamit at magpagamit sa kanila At the same time, kung magpagamit tayo, dapat magamit rin natin sila. Hindi dapat one way. Hindi to dapat one way na maalala lang namin yung Pilipinas. Kayo ngayong may problema sa Taiwan, pwede palang gamitin na launching pad itong Northern Luzon para sa counter-attack natin doon sa Taiwan. Kung na-invade ang Taiwan by China, pwede magamit ng Pilipinas. Itong mga Amerikano rin dapat, ipaparating rin nyo, sir, kayo naman nag-uusap palagi. Kayo man nag-uusap, parating rin ninyo na kaya yung mga tao minsan nagiging negative sa inyo dahil lumalabas na parang user kayo. User kayo, magagamit lang kayo pag kailangan nyo kami. Pero panahon ng kinakailangan kayo, hindi man kayo tumutulong. Pero the fact remains, kahit na meron tayong ganong hinanakit sa kanila, the fact remains na sila pa rin ang kinakailangan talaga natin kapag tayo binubuli ng China. Wala tayong ibang mapuntahan kundi Amerika. Yun lang. Okay bang bawi ko, sir? Okay ba? Bumawi ako konti? Okay lang? Ha? gusto mo na mag-report sa Amerika eh. So, si Bato galit sa inyo. Parang gano'n ay. Pero wala tayong ibang pupuntahan kundi Amerika, di ba? Galit na galit na sa pambubuli ng China. Kanino tayo hingi ng tulong? Amerika. Di ba? Pero yun nga lang, sabihan nyo yung Amerikana kayo, halata masyado user kayo. Maisip lang nyo kami kapag may looming threat dyan sa Taiwan na dagdagan nyo, halata masyadong move ninyo na gusto nyo, Northern Luzon, lagyan ng additional Edca sites. Yun lang, mas maganda yung, kaya siguro negative yung ibang tao doon sa Northern Luzon sa kanila dahil kulang sila sa information na operation, naunahan sila ng China. Baka China, nandun na, advance na doon, nangangampanya na yung China doon sa Northern Luzon na hindi, nagbibiro lang ako, gobernador, wala yan. Wala yan, Gob. Ang akin lang, ba't ang Amerika, klaruhin nila yung purpose na dito, na hindi kami gagamit sa inyo. Hindi kayong gagamit sa inyo. Wala kaming, kung gamitin kayo, na pagkatapos gamitin kayo, iwan namin kayo. O, dapat walang ganunan. Yun lang, Gob, hindi ko kuha yun, Gob, na pinapasaya ko lang yung kuha dito ngayon, yung mood dito, kaya masyadong seryoso yung aming hearing dito. Yun lang, sir. Iparating nyo sa Amerika na ganun. Huwag nyo kami masyadong gamitin. At alam nyo, we are also a thinking mamalya. Ayaw rin namin mapapagamit ng kami mapapasubo. Yun lang, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Ma'am, I would just like to expand the discussion on this one kasi ang nakakalimutan natin kung ano ba ang Pilipinas sa Amerika. Ang Pilipinas po ay kasama po ito sa first island chain ng bansang Amerika. Ang first island chain ay ang kanyang defensive perimeter sa Asia. At malinaw na malinaw ito sa bansang Amerika simula pa ng World War II. Actually, ang motivation sa likod ng first island chain ay mapanatili na ang Pacific Ocean ay American Lake. Ito ay sinabi ni US President Dwight Eisenhower noong 1954 na ang Pacific Ocean should always remain an American lake. At kung makikita natin sa kasaysayan, tuwing may nagcha-challenge sa Amerika sa dominance niya sa Pacific Ocean o sa Pacific area, nagkakaroon ng gera. Yan ang katotohanan dyan. Ikalawa, ang sinasabi kanina po na hindi po yung tungkol po sa Pilipinas magiging target pagdating magkaroon ng gera. Actually, naging concern na po ito ng mga Pilipino noon pa, kahit noong nininegotiate po ang Philippine independence noong 1940s. At ang sinasabi nila na ang presensya ng base militar sa ating bansa ay malubhang mapanganib sa atin. At kung hindi nyo po nalalaman, noong ang Edca ay na-expand na, ito po ay ipinagdiwang ng mga Amerikano at tahasan nilang sinabi na ang additional EDCA sites ay magpo-provide ng additional targeting challenge sa China. Anong ibig sabihin itong targeting challenge? Ibig sabihin, mas magiging komplikado na ang magiging gera at imbes na ang magiging target lang ng China ay ang base ng Amerika sa Guam, Okinawa, ay makakasama na tayo dito. So ito po ang totohanin dyan at ito'y pinag-uusapan sa US media. So, ayun lang po, Madam Chairwoman. Maraming salamat.
Yes, thank you very much. Dr. Loha, please.
Thank you po. If it pleases your honors, I'd like to respond to the question raised. I'd like to respond to the question raised earlier, whether the Philippine territory where there are agreed EDCA sites could be a legitimate target in case of a war, declared or undeclared, between the United States, North Korea, Russia, Iran, or China. And my answer is yes. Under the Caroline test, which was adopted by the military tribunals in the Nuremberg trial, and which is now part of the law of warfare, a territory of a neutral state, such as the EDCA sites in northern Luzon, which is a location of stockpiles of weapons or weapon systems of a belligerent state, such as, for instance, the United States, can be a target, a legitimate military target of another belligerent state, such as China, North Korea, Russia, or Iran. And under EDCA, Article 4, in particular, paragraph 1, the United States has the right, unmitigated right, to stockpile not just supplies, equipment, or material for humanitarian aid, but military weapons. And the Philippines has no control over the type of weapons that will be stockpiled in EDCA sites. And this is because Article 4 only provides for notification and approval as to the quantity and schedule of delivery. Unlike other EDCA provisions with Poland, for instance, Bulgaria, and Australia, there are express provisions in their EDCAs calling for the prior notification and consent of the host government as to the type of weapons that will be stockpiled in EDCA sites. There is no such provision in our EDCA with the US. In fact, under Article 4, paragraph 2, the US has the right to impose, has unimpeded rights over the EDCA sites where there are stockpiles of weapons, and they have use and ownership of those weapons. That use and ownership would justify a belligerent state making an attack on an EDCA site in the Philippines where there are US weapon stockpiles. Finally, in 2019, the United States withdrew from the Intermediate Range Nuclear Forces Treaty. Under that treaty, the United States forswore to develop and stockpile what are known as ground-launched ballistic and cruise missiles with ranges of 500 to 5,500 kilometers. Therefore, under the present regime, the United States is no longer prevented from developing and stockpiling those weapons, including in EDCA sites in northern Luzon or in my own province, Cagayan de Oro. Thank you.
Yes, if I may, you said unimpeded use and ownership. I think our authorities here will contest that. It's only operational control and not discussion of ownership, with all due respect, Dr. Loha, that we read in EDCA. Yes, doctor, please.
Sorry, it is operational. It is not just operational control.
Operational control, I think, is the language utilized,
Yes, but it
not
is
ownership.
with respect to the materials.
The material is
Stockpile.
exclusive ownership. That is correct. The material.
Yes.
But the actual site does not involve any transfer
Yes,
of
but
ownership.
paragraph 4 also provides that they have unimpeded access
That's correct.
to locations where they have the materials that they own. So once it is unimpeded, there is no right on the part of the Philippines to say that with respect to that particular site where you have stockpiles of weapons, we can say that we can control your access to it because the provision itself provides that their access will be unimpeded.
Yes, but if
Over-
you look at the rest of the agreement, as discussed earlier, the perimeter and the actual buildings following the construction phase are inexorably Filipino. They're belonging to us. I think Yusek Galvez is wanting to explain, and after that, Mr. Renato Reyes.
I would like to know to express that all activities to be undertaken under Edca will have to be approved by the Philippines through MDB-SCB. So there is some sort of prior consent, meaning all activities that will be undertaken at Edca will be planned. Normally, ma'am, meron po kami mga 14 days na planning doon sa Hawaii, and sometimes dito sila pumupunta. Doon po namin ginagawa ang lahat ng activities. Kaya nga po, na-identified namin po yung mga 500 activities and trainings. And also, iniisa-isa po namin yung mga tinatawag na weapons na pwedeng i-allow with our consent. Especially, ang ano po natin, prohibition natin is talagang yung nuclear, hindi po pwede po yun based on our constitution. And second, under EDCA, before any construction or other activities can be undertaken, prior consent of the Philippines will be to be secured through the Mutual Defense Board and Security Engagement Board, which were established under the MDT and the BFA. The AP base commander will have access to the entire area of facilities shared with the U.S., and the Philippines will also own any building and similar infrastructure that will be built by the U.S. military.
Yes, thank you, Yusek Galvez. Some aspects of this and the working details were discussed by Senator De La Rosa and myself during the executive briefing. So indeed, there are questions that have arisen about these provisions. Mr. Reyes, please.
Magandang hapon po, Madam Chair. Yung EDCA po is more about U.S. power projection than any humanitarian aid or disaster response. Marami hong bansa na tumulong sa atin noong panahon ng Yolanda, pero US lang po ang humingi na magkaroon ng base militar sa ating bansa. Ang aming pong mga objections nakaangkla doon sa pagiging masyadong malawak ng kasunduan. Sa EDCA po, walang sinasabi kung hanggang ilan ang sundalong Amerikanong pwedeng pumasok. Walang sinasabi hanggang ilang pasilidad ang pwedeng i-construct sa ating bansa. Wala ring sinasabing duration hanggang kailan pwedeng gamitin ang mga pasilidad na ito. Very open-ended po. So theoretically, the entire country pwedeng mag-host ng different facilities sa lahat ng mga probinsya at rehiyon. Mabigat din po para sa bansa natin ito. Sa EDCA po, libre ang paggamit ng mga facilities na ito. And when the U.S. forces and their contractors use our utilities, they will be tax exempt. Yung pagbabayad ng buwis sa utilities is for the account of the Philippine government. There's no modernization here because the prepositioned material will be for the exclusive use of the U.S. forces, not shared use with the Philippine forces. And the U.S. will have unencumbered right, the unencumbered right to remove any of their material, their weapons, their vehicles from Philippine territory at any time that they wish. So yung sinasabing lahat ng activities dapat approved, paano kung nagpalipad sila ng drone mula sa Pilipinas at maging cause ng international incident at madadamay sa pag-escalate ng tensyon? Ano hong sagutin natin doon at mapipigilan ba natin sila na palaparin yung drone mula sa Philippine facilities? So lahat pong ito magkakaladkad po sa atin sa isang conflict na hindi natin kagustuhan, wala sa ating interest, at mabigat yung magiging social cost nito down the line kapag hindi natin po binigyan ng kaanumang parameters kung hanggang saan, hanggang kailan sila pwedeng manatili dito. For all intents and purposes po, open-ended ito, open-ended forever po pwede silang manatili, no, sa ating bansa.